If we can get everybody's attention, please. It's about 5:08. We've got I want to open the work session for the Plain Township Board of Trustees. The subject tonight is the Pro Football Hall of Fame Village. We have a number of guests from the Pro Football Hall of Fame Village project team with us tonight. I know we've exchanged some email communication as well. I know Dave and I have had phone conversation as late as yesterday. There's just some specifics we need to talk through, but I think ultimately before we really dive into some of those questions that we've provided, for the sake of having our newest trustee, Mr. John Sabo, maybe if you guys can give an executive summary or a vision, because that'll help get John up to speed, and then from there we can dovetail probably into some of those questions or simultaneously handle them. It's meant for interactive dialogue between the Board of Trustees as well. I know my department heads may chime in as well. So that being said, David, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Scott, and trustees and staff. We appreciate the opportunity to be here, which we hope will be continued for the next 100 years by people who replace us, because we hope this project can grow to that level and benefit everybody. We're prepared to answer the questions that you sent to us, and again, I know that we have, I think Joe and Lisa were at a meeting, I think in January, where we had a number of administrators and transportation folks. I know that Al and Scott had a private briefing, I think in February, and we'd love to provide everyone a briefing, under what, I know there's some sunshine laws, and that fact, we do everything we can to it. It's a fluid project, it's constantly changing in every way we can, and that's one of the concerns we have here, because what happens today might change tomorrow. And I can tell you from when I've gotten here 23 months ago, this thing has grown and grown and grown. I'm charged with responsibility as president of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, of honoring our heroes of the game, to preserving its history, to promoting its values and celebrating excellence everywhere. But what we found is that that brand and that mission itself has an opportunity to be an economic engine, especially with the fact that in 4 years, it'll be the NFL's 100th season, and in 5 years, it'll be the centennial itself, which we're working towards being the biggest event in the history of the NFL, because it all started right here in Canton. When I say right here in Canton, when I talk about Canton, they don't talk about Plain Township or Jackson Township or North Canton or even boundary limits of Canton. They're talking about this region, and this region stands for excellence in everything it does. So I think that that's got an opportunity to be something that generates more for our citizens here, to create higher property values, to bring more commercial property here, to create more jobs here. And it's a great way to do it because it's really a lot of tourism. And tourism is the best industry to be in because it relies on other people's capital as they come here and visit here. We've already seen in Plain Township an increase in the values of properties. The repository did an independent study of the purchase of properties that we did and found out that we were overpaying for those properties by 43% of the appraisal. But we think once we start building stuff, that there's going to be a lot of stuff that happens on Fulton and in other areas that will bring more revenue to the area. Scott asked me to summarize it, and we didn't bring the presentation, so we'd love to have you guys, whenever we can, and go over it, sometime after the holidays, if we can. And again, we love your input. This has gotten bigger by people saying, hey, what about this, or what about this, or how can we partner on this? And I do want to emphasize that our job with you, with Canton, with Plain Local School District, with Canton City Schools, with anybody we can, we want to partner. Our goal is to be a magnet for other resources and come here. Now, as fate would have it, on the third day on the job, Stu Lichter came in. Stu Lichter is the president of IRG, and he brings a lot of resources with him. So He spent a lot of money, and other groups have contributed money, the hall spent money to develop a master plan, which is what we shared with you back in January and continues to evolve. But essentially, that is to redo the stadium. And their stadium is being designed by the same guys who did AT&T Stadium, HKS, they're doing the new stadium in Minnesota, they did the Disney Sports Complex. We would have fields as part of that stadium for youth sports, and one study and one group we're working with, by way of example, their projections are that they could bring 160 athletes and their families to this area, that would stay in our hotels and, be in our restaurants and, bring their capital here and do all those kinds of things. We would have a center for excellence that in some respects would be where we would have the Gold Jacket dinner, have a lot of other activities that bring stuff to town. And we're talking to Altman Hospital about having a athletes performance center where there would be rehab and care and research there as well. A hotel, a 500 seat conference center, some restaurants and retail there, and a Legends Landing, and potentially a Hall of Fame experience that would be kind of a thematic experience of what it's like to be at a game, and instead of just watching it on TV at home, maybe attending a game or being at a game. The reason for that is, you all know that the Super Bowl is the most watched show in history, but of the top 50 TV shows that were ranked by Nielsen last year, 45 were NFL games. 45 out of 50, 20 of the top 20. And of that amount, of those people who say that they're NFL fans, now how many of you are Browns fans here?
That's a hard pill to swallow.
God bless you guys. But, of all those people who say they're football fans, and there's 300 million of you who would raise their hand to that question, 95% will never go to an NFL game. We could be that place for those people, not just 8 days a year, but 365 days a year. And most importantly for me, which is why I'm doing this, is we could be that place for the values of the game. The commitment, the integrity, the courage, the discipline, the perseverance, the things most of us learned in athletics when we played, even if we were never paid for it. I believe that those are the kind of things that will make you a great safety officer, or a great police officer, or a great soldier, or a great mother, or a great father, a great businessman, a great community. So this is what we're about, and this is what we're trying to do. So let me introduce to you the people that we brought with us. Stu Lipter, I'm going to give it to Stu a little bit to talk a little bit about his development company and the questions you have. Tracy Green is our project manager from IRG. Dave Matz is kind of my project manager from the Hall of Fame side to work with those guys. Pete Fairley is here with me who kind of makes sure he does all my work, and George Veras, who handles a lot of our programming and production of events and stuff like that. We also have John Dodovich, who is with Welty Construction, who does a lot of work on the transportation and the construction and things like that. So Stu?
So, thanks for having me. First, I'd like to kind of elaborate a little bit on what David said about what we're trying to create and the impact of what we're trying to create. What we're trying to create is going to operate on a number of different levels. One, it's going to be an entertainment complex, because the NFL experience or the Hall of Fame experience we're going to do is indoors, operates 12 months a year. We're hiring ride engineers and people like that who have done attractions at Disneyland and Universal Studios. To give you an idea of the impact of that, right? Cedar Point attracts 3-point-something million people a year, right? It's 3.8. It's in this weather. It's open half the year, right? And it's mostly local people, right? We're going to be an attraction like Dollywood, and all these places attract 2-3 million people a year. We're going to be an attraction like that, but not an attraction that's just for local people. So we're going to be bringing, we don't know the number, 1 million, 2 million, right? People here a year who aren't presently coming. And the dollars they spend, the economic impact studies we've done, right, estimate something like 13,000 full-time jobs, either on the site or as a result of this. So just imagine the impact of that on property values, on homes being built, on businesses in the area. This is a huge, huge game changer for the area when we complete the project. Right? So you have the youth sports complex, which David covered, right? You have the hotel, part of the hotel is a conference center. Corporations look for places to go. What better place when they can have an Under Armour Hall of Fame, where they can have Hall of Famers get out on the field to teach them things, right? To teach them corporate standards and ethics. So there's a huge corporate conference center as part of this. There's the training center and the medical facility that David outlined. There's also an 85,000 square foot indoor football field that doubles as a convention center. So the Canton Civic Center is 18,000 feet. There's a whole host of shows that attract people from 40, 50, 60 miles that can't come to this area, right? That will be able to come to this area. So in addition to operating as part of our football-oriented development, there'll also be, car shows, flower shows, attracting people into the area, spending dollars, right, in the restaurants in the area. We're talking top-end restaurants. And then there's the value piece with coaches universities and refs universities. And we're talking about a transition center for athletes, going out of the sport. We're talking about the best youth athletes in the country coming here, not to learn how to play football, but to learn how to live their life if they make the NFL. So there's going to be a huge values element of this development also. So development is like hugely significant for this area. And I'm personally just so proud to be part of something like this and what we're going to accomplish here. That, it's not about the money, it's about what we're going to do. So with that, I think, we can get to your questions and answering your questions. So I think, your first question was the final boundaries, and we have some maps, but.
That's something we want to put up on the screen.
Yeah, we can put it up on the screen.
Yeah.
And the real answer to that is there are no final boundaries. The city of Canton, the state passed a law giving us some benefits that we need to make the project happen, and we have to select 300 acres, basically, as a project boundary. We're constantly with our architects and planners still moving things around, right? The phase one is pretty well set, right? But, all the boundaries I'm going to show you are still tentative. Right? There's agreements being done that aren't finalized, that have to be finalized. Everything is still capable of being moved. As this project is developed, we probably have 30 plans with things in different places. So at this point, we have plans that we prefer, that we'd like to go on, that we're close to being at the point in time to commit to stay to our schedules, but there really is no final boundary yet. We could show you the boundaries as they presently exist.
Does it have to be computer one or two, or is it video?
You should be able to search.
Monitor out.
Search.
Is there an auto source one?
There's an auto search on top of it, yeah.
Could be a phone. Okay, so I've got, I've actually got some.
I'm certainly not going to help with the tech.
Where's all our experts at, Rob? Gee.
Hey, Stu, you did say that the entire project is gonna take about 300 acres?
Well, no, what I said is that the state law that was changed, right, sets out a benefit zone of 300 acres.
Okay.
The project as presently designed is well below that, but we don't know how big this will be or how it will grow. So the point I'm really trying to make is that everything you're seeing here is very tentative, because, if we build this out, we don't know who's gonna come.
Sure.
Right? When Disney started, they didn't know how big this is. We're creating a tourist attraction. Right? So the potential zone is what I was talking about.
Okay.
Right?
And that would include the land with the existing facilities?
That would
Or
include
in addition to
No,
the
that would
land?
include the land with the existing
Okay.
facilities. Our entire potential long-term benefit
Okay.
zone encompasses 300 acres. The initial development encompasses, what was it, Tracy, about 70 or 80?
72.
About 72 acres is what you're gonna see
Sure.
as the phase one, phase two. Okay, is that clear?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
So basically, you have two sets of lines there. One set of lines is the school district line, which is the black line, where everything to the left and down is part of the Plain Township School District. And the orange line, everything to the left and down is part of Plain Township. So superimposed on that's a little bit hard to see is our development, where if you look at it, a pretty significant portion of the development is in the Plain Township School District, but not a huge amount of the phase one and two is in Plain Township itself.
Do you want to explain what those facilities are, give them some orientation?
So,
Yeah, just,
Go ahead.
this right here is obviously the stadium right here, and we're redoing this half of it right here. This is the Hall of Fame, the 77, this is a park on the other side, right there. This over here is the school and the symphony, and on the other side of that is Don Scott Fields. This right here is where we have some homes, and would projected to be really some of the hotel, would kind of straddle this line in the conference center right there. But again, as you can see, quite a bit of this is in the school district, but a lesser portion of it is in the city.
does the other map show the?
Yeah, the other map will show that.
The other map- I was gonna wait for the other map, because it basically shows the phase one and phase two. Yeah,
Stu, if I could just make one point,
Sure.
just from what you're looking at. The yellow area that's painted there is essentially the proposed TIF district in totality. So that would be the area that we're looking to.
that's the 300 acre area, basically, but it certainly isn't, it's way beyond any vision that presently exists for the development.
Correct.
Right.
I think there's apartments on the south side
So basically, we've tried to, the line there is basically the township lines. And the way it presently looks, first of all, is that accurate, Tracy? That's basically the
No,
question.
it's
I think it's
essentially
I think it's
phase
wrong
one and
looking at it
phase two.
because it's a little down more.
Yeah,
So-
that's
so
phase
ba-
one and phase
Okay,
two.
so that's phase one and phase two. And if you superimpose the township lines on it, the township lines would basically go probably about right here. Right, where most of the hotel is in the city of Canton. And all of the NFL experience in the city of Canton, but the convention center, I believe, is mostly in Plain Township. Right. So, and we could go over with you what each of those components are, if you like.
John, would that help you, if they go over that in a little more detail, the
Yeah,
different
but
components?
just give me the Reader's Digest first.
Okay, so basically, obviously self-evident, this is the youth field complex. And this will be, if you folks are familiar with what goes on in Cooperstown, which is in the middle of nowhere, a private developer built a complex of baseball fields, and it's become a rite of passage for any child who's really good at baseball to make a trip to Cooperstown and play there in tournaments. These will be for football, soccer, and lacrosse, and there really isn't anything like this attached to a complex like this. So this should become, if we're successful, kind of the mecca for youth football, soccer, and lacrosse.
And John, that's basically, if you, Dennis R. Smith as it exists, all the way to Harrison Avenue, 17th to Hill.
Right, and this is basically what John Scott Fields are now, because that's the school. Okay, so 20 and 21 are basically an indoor convention center, an indoor football facility that will seat somewhere between 5,000 and 7,000 people for football, right? And we'll have at the end of it a place where seating can come out, and it'll be about a 6,000 to 7,000 seat basketball arena where we believe the D team Cavs will play, be also available for concerts and other activities. That will also convert into an 85,000 square foot convention center and be basically a multi-purpose facility. It could also be used, because it's one of the football fields outdoor next to it, as the Browns training center potentially, or a training center for a team. 18 is two mixed facilities. One is a conventional office building where we're talking to a lot of football-oriented tenants. We hope to bring some people, major entities in from out of town that are involved in things like youth football. You know, we are actually having some conversation with the NFL about some people potentially moving out of New York to this complex. And that's also where we have the facility that will be run by Altman, which will be a top-level sports training facility, sports medicine facility, safety research and medicine facility, and that's where 18 is. The stadium is the stadium. Number 1 is the present Hall of Fame. 12 and 13 is about 35,000 feet of conference center, which makes it a major conference hotel. It'll be a 4 or 5 star hotel, which will be the only 4 or 5 star hotel between Cleveland and Columbus. You know, not like a, Hilton Garden Inn or the hotels that are built, which are all real nice. This is full service with restaurants and major facilities, high-rise hotel. In front of that, 22 and 10 is basically a retail street with restaurants. We're talking to some major chef restaurants. We're talking to people like Shula's Steakhouse. So there'll be restaurants and shops, kind of like if you've been to Universal Walk and places like that. So that'll be a retail street. There'll be in 10 probably a residential component above that. 22, 23 are kind of a phase 2, so that's not what we're doing right now, but that's a second office building and something called Legends Landing, which is various levels of senior facilities for retired athletes, NFL and otherwise, for the people who love sports, kind of like a senior citizen sports bar that you live in. And then everything labeled 11 is the NFL experience. And that's kind of the last phase, and that's the real tourist attraction entertainment complex, where if you've been to the NFL experience at the Super Bowl, I don't know whether any of you have, that's where it'll be an indoor facility. That'll just be a place for people to come and do a whole lot of things. And basically, that's the development right now as we envision it from the physical side. So does that help you?
Yes, thank you.
Great. And together, what you see up there, without 22 and 23, but what's presently planned is about a $500 million development. So it's clearly, I think, by far the largest development going on in the state and the most significant. So your next question was the commercial base the township would be losing. We've done that computation, there's 200 and something properties.
There's 225 parcels that are in the TIF district that are in Plain Township. And the commercial tax base on that, excluding the school portion of the tax base, is about $72,000 annually.
So Tracy, just to be clear, because I don't think it was clear, is that in the phase 1, phase 2 TIF district or 300 acre TIF?
Phase 1, phase 2
That's in the-
combined.
Okay, so that's in the phase 1, phase 2 combined district. It's not the entire vision that may or may not ever happen. It's what you see on this map.
And it's what, 90 parcels in phase 1,
90 parcels
135 in
in-
phase 2.
Yep.
In terms
Now-
of commercial property, we're
Yeah.
looking.
Yeah, as far as actual, we were a little unsure on exactly the basis of the question, but if you were interested in wanting to know how many commercial properties that are maybe zoned that way today, off of Fulton, there's 4 parcels that would make up the commercial part of it. So the balance of those parcels are residential parcels. And as Dave said, there's 90 in phase 1 and 135 in phase 2.
So the commercial,
Those are a pet hospital,
the,
a residence that has some offices in it, but it's really a residence.
home health
And
care,
home health care, and then potentially the Circle K, if they ever went that way.
potentially, okay? Our opinion, everybody can have their own opinion, but, that's balanced off, we think, by what will be far more in property value increases from what this will bring, and, by the offsets and the less services that will have to be provided by Plain Township. I think we've explained the area of the TIF, which was one of your questions. Next question is annexation. So it is our intention, because the project is sizable, we really need to be under one jurisdiction for fire, for everything else, for planning. So it is our intention to, as we acquire properties in Plain Township, to annex them. Okay? We feel a project this complex, there really isn't an option but to do that. We assume there'll be some cooperative agreements between the city and the township on some of the services, but primarily we would have to comply with Canton zoning, Canton fire, and all the Canton regulations. Traffic flow, we have John here, I'll answer part of the question, you can answer the rest of it if you have other questions. But we're working very closely with ODOT. We are very cognizant of the traffic implications of a project like this. And the interchange on 77 is an interchange that's deemed deficient. And ODOT's working to raise it in the priority level. And there will likely be some major construction and traffic improvements that will be part of this project. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, absolutely. We've studied from Everhard to Tuscarawas. I think, Scott, you're part of the stats. Are you part of this?
Yeah, I'm Scott.
Scott. Oh, I got the wrong guy. I think so. I'm trying to think of the representative from Plain Township with SCAS, who works with SCAS, which is the Stark Metropolitan Plan Area. They've been part of the study as well, so they're sort of aware of what's going on, but ODOT is working through the study. We've studied the intersections from Everhard Road to Tuscarawas. Fulton Road is certainly recognized as a deficient exit, and so the final reports will come out as to where the deficiencies are in the end of the month of December. And with the identification of the deficiencies, we'll begin to identify what the improvements are and what the priorities are. The 62 weave, which is not a football play, by the way.
It should be.
But we may brand that as a new football play. The 62 weave is certainly something that's been on ODOT's list for a long, long time. This project has with it the ability to basically elevate the quality of that intersection in the course of us doing all this, as well as fix a number of other intersections associated with the project.
Any project like this, frankly, from a traffic point of view, is a mixed bag. This project is so important for the state that things that are already deficient will get fixed a whole lot faster than would have got fixed. And the flip side of that is we'll generate a whole lot more traffic. So, you know, and clearly, this project will generate a whole lot more traffic.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned. Joe, I see now, sometimes Bridge Park. Drainage. A large area of Plain Township all drains down right now towards Woodward and towards Alice, 77 right away. Has that all been addressed?
We are in fact addressing all of the stormwater issues with the entire site. And as we are working through each area, we are, let's say, fixing up a lot of things that haven't been done so well over the years. And when we do the 2 youth fields, which are part of this year's program, so let me point up here on the map.
Watch your step there, that's.
Yes, I'm a little guy, you're gonna have to pick.
There's a pointer here, John, if you want.
You guys have a pointer, right?
So these 2 fields are planned to be done this year. We do know that Helen Place floods considerably. We also know that this floods in here. There's a 24-inch storm sewer that goes underneath the 77 here. There's a 36-inch in through here. And then there's a 54-inch that comes down.
That's the one I'm concerned about, because that other's all Canton Township south of 17th Street.
So you get the idea, though, if I resolve some of the issues upstream, I'm going to reduce the impact downstream, no pun intended, and basically alleviate some of the issues. So I'm going to be doing some storm water retention, which I'll be building some structures underneath the fields themselves, the 60-inch diameter pipes that will hold water, approximately 375,000 cubic feet of water, and we'll slowly release it into the structures further downstream as we begin to work through that. Am I answering some of your questions? So I'm beginning to alleviate the stormwater
I just want to
issue.
be clear, everything that's Plain Township is west of where right now, Bar Avenue, and north of 17th Street
Correct.
to Blake.
Right. I under.
Broad. That's the area I'm concerned about, because a big majority of that drainage comes towards the Hall of Fame right now.
Right. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is I begin to relieve the stormwater as it's gathering in the whole complex, okay? Because that's how we look at this. We look at this, when we study it, we look at it from here to here. We don't just look at the one particular area, and we look for ways to retain water, so we slow down the flow, so that I don't have to basically oversize infrastructure. In addition to that, we're going to fix up the Nimishillen Creek, the raceway in the Nimishillen Creek is part of our proposal, so that once again I begin to alleviate some of the stress that's going on with the stormwater on this part of the site as well as that part of the site, because the raceway, as you know, follows Nimishillen Creek from Fulton and continues all the way down through the park.
Right.
So, am I answering some of your questions?
Yes.
So yes, we are addressing those stormwater issues as they arise. We are addressing them by making sure that we are not kicking the can downfield. We're taking care of the stormwater issues with each particular project with the global site in mind, with the whole. Actually, we're looking at 93 acres of contributing stormwater to the system as we do our studies, which is effectively a little bit beyond here, which is beyond our phase. But because the ground slopes in that direction, I've got to account for the water that's coming from
That watershed is very large.
Right?
And we're, very importantly, we're happy to meet with you to make sure that you agree with what we're doing.
Thank you.
Because we want to partner together. And again, there's people that work on stuff just like you, on stuff that I don't know about, and Stu doesn't know about, but we do know that we want to partner together.
Okay, thank you.
Was that helpful?
Yes, very.
The last question that I think we're asked to address was the fire station, which was a little bit surprised us when we looked at it. We don't think that any relocation is either required or requested.
Well, and let me speak to that first, and that obviously retired chief and current trustee Sigmund and current chief Don Snyder. Reality is there's going to be some very serious concerns based upon the population over there, given the proximity of that fire station related to this village project, and taken even into current context, some of the realignment City of Canton's done with their stations, where I mean they're shutting certain ones down and rotating through. we've got, is it both mutual and automatic aid agreements there? Which means at the end of the day, it's gonna be Plain Township taxpayers that are gonna be footing the bill to have our EMS come there, because we're the closest in proximity, and we will guarantee to have the quickest response time. And what I can't do, or our board can't collectively do, you know, we've just passed a levy to increase the amount of resources to cover our area because of some of the residential density where we have experienced growth. And say all of a sudden a project like this comes in, which I agree, in the whole grand, the bigger scheme of looking beyond the trees in front of me for the sake of the greater forest, the region, it's a good project. However, I gotta balance that against what I'm elected to protect, and that's our safety services. And what we see, because we've seen it with not even projects, obviously, of anywhere close scale, but even smaller scale, where there's commercial development, especially where you got living quarters, where our call volumes spike. And because we're gonna be the first there, you know, was it a year ago, Chief? I mean, we had to go at it with Canton to get that into better balance, because literally, our services were going outside of our jurisdictional boundaries. While at the same time, we had residents that were calling, and we were literally spread so thin to where, you know, how do I explain to, you know, resident, Mr. Lichter, or Mr. Baker, and so forth, that,
So this is one that you've actually surprised us on. It wasn't on our radar screen. I think everything else was on my radar screen. So I thank you for putting it on a radar screen, and we will start looking at it in our planning on how we make sure that those concerns are either addressed by getting more fire protection closer in Canton or some other way. But
And or
I don't think we're prepared.
and or even if it's, and I may be speaking too early, and I'm hoping Chief or Trustee Saber, you can speak to, even if it's helping, I don't want to use the word strong arm, but positively and enthusiastically persuade the city of Canton to.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right now, there's not a radar screen, so we're not
Yeah.
going to respond further here tonight. And I
Yeah,
appreciate you putting it on a
absolutely.
radar screen so that we can start looking at what the problem is and what the alternatives for a solution are. Is that fair enough?
And I just have a question, John and Chief. How does it work with Canton and the townships, whether it's Plain in the city or?
We're not going to solve it tonight, right? So we don't need to solve it tonight. You know, I hear that Plain has a issue. We need to understand the issue, we need to learn about the issue, which we'll do, and then we need to figure out what the alternatives are.
Yeah, let me just emphasize, and I know your meeting is coming up here, so we don't want to encroach on your time.
You got till 6 o'clock. So
But number one, whether it's a sewage issue, whether it's a fire issue, whether it's a school issue in terms of programs, you know, we had Lynn Swan come in for an event a couple weeks ago, and we had him swing by Canton High School. You know, can we get him to, you know, swing by your high school? You know, whatever program we can do, whatever we want to do, the one thing I want to emphasize is that we want to partner together. You educate us, we want to be responsibly and address it just like coming here. You know, we just want to extend our hand and have a partnership and a dialogue. The second thing is I want to say is I've been through this a lot. I've sat in your chair. I've been a mayor of the first master plan city in America, Irvine. And we had police issues and fire issues and all kinds of stuff. And what you learn is when you're going to do something special, there's going to be problems. And if we're going to get this done, it's not the quality of the project that gets it done. It's the quality of the people that gets it done. So how can we work together to do this? And what I have found in my 2 years here, and I'm not trying to be disingenuous or anything like this is really from the bottom of my heart. You are an incredible people here in Ohio. You are sincere, you're authentic, you're genuine. And this project has, when I started it, you know, and Stu came in the door, all I wanted was a hotel. Because we needed, I think, a 4-star, 5-star hotel, full-service hotel here. And when our teams play here, you know, they have to stay in Cleveland. One of the rookie symposiums here, they're in Aurora. And all this has come, frankly, from meetings like this with people like you who have come back and said, you know, hey, you know what else we ought to do? you know, we ought to have the fire convention here. We ought to, you know, do this, we could do that. And that's what we want to do. I do know this, just to kind of close, if it's okay, with the schedule. You know, John, if you're available, I'm actually, I've been in 15 stadiums in the last 11 weeks, a lot of travel, and I'm heading back to what used to be my home for Christmas. But we'd love to give you this presentation if you've got any time available. And then we'd love to give it to Al and Scott and Lisa, any of your guys. Because again, it's kind of evolved a little bit, certainly from January, more than a little bit. And you may have more input into it. We'd love to hear your issues, the concerns. But I do know that if we work together, this thing could be something really special. It could be a lot of jobs for kids that are now leaving because they don't have jobs here. It could, when I was in the city of Irvine, here's what I learned from a lot of people that were a lot smarter than I was, that our population when I was there was about 110,000. You know, really wasn't that much bigger than you are now. But our population during the daytime swelled to about 550,000 because there was that many jobs. And that pays for a lot of potholes on police officers and safety officers, but we want to do it in the right way. The other thing I would tell you is with respect to our, and also one other thing. I've talked to some of you guys at different times at restaurants and events and stuff like that. We're not talking about a distribution factory here. The reason my wife and I are here instead of Newport Beach, California is not the weather, I assure you. We're here because we think this thing stands for some significant values. For me, this is an ecumenical church of football. And it's not any one religion like the Browns, but it is about discipline and perseverance and courage and character. And those are things that I believe you stand for. You may have heard me speak sometimes, and when I talk to my son, I mean, when I talk about Canton, I'm not talking about those boundary lines up there. I'm talking about Plain Township and Jackson and North Canton, Massillon, this region that people think of as the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But my son played next to Tony Gonzalez, one of the best tight ends to ever play the game, and he said, when I talked to him about commentary, he says, you know, Dad, you know, when we talk about Tony Gonzalez, we talk about him not going to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but going to Canton. This region. But it's not even the words Canton. It's going to the place of excellence. And that's what you all stand for here. So, from our perspective, there's a real opportunity here in 4 years. In 4 years, it's going to be the NFL's 100th season. In 5 years, like I said, it's going to be the centennial itself of where the game began right here. And we can put those values on center stage. In order to do that, what we've had to do is to move forward with the North Stands. And again, we're putting a lot of money into this that we've raised from Tom Benson, owner of the New Orleans Saints, who invest in this area, and Stu Lichter and his investors. And what we're doing is, there isn't enough investment capital in this area, so we're recruiting capital to it. Can we get some from other NFL owners and other resources and other tourists that are coming here? But we're doing the fan plaza between the Hall of Fame, the North Stands, and 2 of these fields here to get the youth started this year. We can't risk losing the enshrinement in the game because this is a big economic engine for you guys during that time, as well as everybody else in the area. We take up hotels, you know, an hour here from here in every direction. So we're going to put it back together at great expense. And it's going to be undoubtedly Brett Favre's year. I shouldn't say that. Hopefully nobody's from the press here, but I think he's going to make it like that. But it should be a big year. I suspect Green Bay will be in the game, and we're going to put it back together. It should be a good year. Then we're going to work on the other side. So we've got to get that done, and then the hotel up and the Center of Excellence probably a year from now. So we want to address those issues that you've got here.
So
We're trying to work with the school districts right now to get it resolved for the sharing of the proceeds of this that will generate long-term. But what we'll do out of this is hopefully get it done, and there's no guarantee of this, but to try to get the draft here in 2019. I will tell you that, I'm not saying that I had anything to do it, but what I'm saying here, the concept of having the draft here, it was still in New York City, and, they're not gonna stay at the Red Roof Inn, and nothing against the Red Roof Inn, but, now we're a real viable candidate, and I think we're actually maybe even a sympathetic favorite. So all of our clock is trying to go towards that because we think that's an economic opportunity. The end result out of that is we'll share whatever we got with you. We want to hear your concerns, we'll bounce it off you, and we want to be a partner in making things happen together.
So, and the one final point is 2019 sounds a long way off. But when you work the timelines back, the decision on 2019 was probably made in 2017. And we will not get the draft here unless the progress here is so far along that there is zero risk we're not finished by 2019. So we are under what is an extremely tight timeline, if that's the goal, one of the goals of the area, which is certainly our goal.
If I could, this does not require an answer, just so you know where we're coming from. First of all, we're on your side. This is huge. I'm excited. I mean, come on, this is coming to Canton, Ohio. Just so, and I'm speaking probably on behalf of this board and all of us, so you know our sensitivity, we give 100% to our residents. So we're very sensitive on this project that we owe to our residents questions that you don't have to answer, fire, road services, safety. It's what we owe to them. So our involvement, we hope, is going to be huge with you guys. We're here for you. You just had our road. We'll sit down as far as drainage. We're here, but we're sensitive because, and you, Mr. Baker, being a mayor, you understand, I give 120% to my residents. I owe something to them that this project, that we're making sure that we're looking after our residents. That's all we're coming from. I'll back you 100%. I'm on your side. I'll do whatever it takes, meetings, whatever it takes, to make this work for you guys, because I'm excited. But just so you know where we're coming from, we're sensitive to our residents, and we owe it to our taxpayers that fire, roads, safety, we have to have an answer for that. That's basically where we're coming from. I'll be happy to meet with Scott will, John, our law director, but I want to make this work. You guys are giving not just 100%, probably 200%. This is huge for you.
Right.
And I applaud you for that. This is huge.
And again, there's going to be problems. When you're in the game, there's going to be sometimes communication issues, and not every play is going to be for positive yardage, especially if you're a Browns fan. But as long as we're together, we're going to overcome it. And I do understand what you mean, and I really do believe this is a conclusion that doesn't require your response. But I really believe, and I'm committed to the fact, that your residents will, in some respects, have less responsibility than others and more to gain. But let's figure that out together.
Absolutely.
And what I hope will happen, Al, is that, like I said, long after you and Scott and John and your staff have met your responsibilities and Dave Baker's dead and gone, that there's going to be stuff here that will impact people and make a difference in their life. Let me give you one example. You may have been there when Roger Goodell came out to speak to the Regional Chamber of Commerce at the Civic Center, I think in March or something like that. And somebody was talking to him, and he said, Commissioner, this is really going to change the area. And his response was, this is really going to change the country. And I will tell you that we're working incredibly hard on it, and we are dedicated to it because we believe in that change. So we invite you to come along. We want to be partners. We want to have communication. That's why we brought so many people, so you can know who the communication lines are.
David, for the sake of closing the communications gap, and I think this is something Dave and I talked about yesterday on the phone. I think having a central point of contact, A1 critical for both sides. So we're not chasing down, 2, 3, a dozen different people. We've got a contact person, and then it's on that person to disseminate it amongst the team, whether it's we need to have individual meetings, we need to have another work session, or here's an update, get it out to your team. What I would like to propose, Al and myself, day-to-day have jobs. Chief enjoys retirement, but I know he's busy. I, for the sake of not only the board, but as well my department heads, Kurt, whoever that would ever be in the future, we channel everything through to Lisa, is the administrator, just because she's timely and punctual and getting that information to us. And then that way, too, we know going forward, we don't have necessarily a communication breakdown.
I think that's great, Scott. And our end, we Dave Mott on the HRM side and Tracy Green on the IRG side. And I would also tell you that we have regular meetings that you can participate in, and I suggest, Lisa, that we should probably, I don't know what it's, you guys decide what's good for you, but if it's every 2 months or every month, whatever it is, let's get it on the calendar, we'll do it. I do know that I was supposed to be someplace else tonight, and Stu was in California yesterday, so we wanted to be responsive to you, and we might not always be able to do that, but I know because you guys are the same way. But we're all committed to the same thing. If I conclude with some other thing, because I know a lot of this is idealistic stuff, but that's what fuels me, because I really believe we got a shot at that stuff. But a guy named Dave Checkins, who used to be the CEO of Madison Square Garden and Radio City Music Hall, and the Knicks and the Rangers and all that stuff. Well, he came and talked to us about what we call the Hall of Fame NFL experience, and when we meet you, we'll go through that again. But he brought a quote, and he said that it was a quote by Daniel Burnham, who was the architect for the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, which was the first one that was lit with electricity by Westinghouse. And his quote was, "Make no small plans, because they have no ability to stir men's souls. Dare to dream big, and our children will do things that we have never dreamed." That's the ultimate goal of this. Now, we want to do it financially responsibly. We've got to do it responsibly so that he makes a return and that it pays for itself and sustains itself, and that you don't incur any additional response for your residents, and hopefully gives them a great benefit. But let's go after stirring some men's souls here.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate you guys coming out. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Scott. We'll catch you.